So intentionally.
No way.
We'll do exams. Even if I know answers, I make sure I'm around 70. I even do some things wrong, so that I remain here.
No way.
And sure enough, I survived very well. But I didn't know that that mentality or psyche was so ingrained in me.
Pastor Janet, take one, part one. You never truly know people until you take the time out to get to know people. That's the tagline of this show. Super excited about the conversation that we're about to have. Super excited for the guests. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another session of The Playhouse. This one has been a long time coming. This is one that I'm excited about. On The Playhouse, we have conversations with people in different industries. We have conversations with people within the music and entertainment, as you've seen a lot on this show. We've had conversations with people in business. We've also had conversations with people within the institution of church, lifestyle, and different other industries. I'm excited about this conversation. This is an OG. She's been in the game for a minute within her sector. Done amazing things. There's a rich history you're going to get from this CTA. There's a lot of information. There's a lot of amazing things that you're going to get to learn and hear from this CTA. I'm making it intentional these days not to throw people's credentials while I am introducing them. And I let the story unveil them to you. So ladies and gentlemen, and I've got Wamai and Aizo here. Help me put your hands together for none other than Pastor Janet Mutinda. Pastor Janet.
Yes.
I've already sort of sold it out there when I've said Pastor Janet.
Yes.
First of all, welcome to CTA.
Asante sana. Thank you.
Thank you for all that you've been doing for so many people.
Yes.
I say like you are, when I look at it, you would be like my mom in terms of the faith because of the institution of churches that I went to. Actually, no. Nairobi Chapel birthed Mavuno. Yes. So technically, you would be like my grandmom. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Asante sana. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Yes.
Another thing that people don't know about you is that you actually have a children's home.
Yes.
But we're going to talk all about this. We're going to unveil you slowly, starting all the way from the beginning, all the way to the end. If you want to stop, this is CTA. We have no rules. Me and you having a conversation. This is not even an interview.
Yes.
It's just me and you having a conversation. These guys are a fly on the wall.
Okay.
We've granted them access.
Okay.
So they get to eavesdrop into the conversation that we're having. I'm excited. Don't hold back anything. Let us learn from you. Let us hear from you. If you want to stop, say stop. If you want to talk directly to people, wako hapo, that's your camera. But otherwise, me and you having a conversation. You're good to go?
I'm good to go. Looking forward to this. Yes.
My first question on this platform is the only question that I ever come prepared with. And that's when were you born?
All right. So are you looking for the actual year?
Yes.
All right. So this is where we landed. So I was born on 10th of April, 1969. So I'm on 5th floor. Hapo katikati, the middle. I used to think guys who are 40s, 50s are old. Nowadays I'm like, how did we get here? But still a good space.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, even when you're inside, I feel like I'm my 20s. Yes, still a lot to do.
And I love it when I have people on the platform who are over than 50. It's because you come with so much history and heritage. And also, let me say this. Your generation has a problem sharing information. They are tight with the information. I've struggled to get a lot of people in this later, after 50 age.
Yes.
But so I'm excited to have you here.
Okay.
Where are you born?
I was born in Eldoret and grew up there until I was in class 3. And then we moved to Nakuru. So all of my life, most of my primary school, high school was in Nakuru. And then I came to Nairobi when I came to university.
Let me show you now CTA. So tell me, in your family, how many are you? Are you the firstborn? Are you the lastborn?
So there's 2 of us, but we didn't grow up as 2. I have an older brother who's just about a year older than me. But then my dad is one of those in the real African setting where as a firstborn, he had to take care of his siblings. So at any point, there was about 6 of us in the house.
Wow.
So my dad brought up 4 of his siblings. And we're very close almost to age. So we never grew up thinking we were 2 until when we got to high school and they had moved on. And that's the first time I think there was 2 of us in the house.
Let's go back to this time in Eldoret. Let's dwell a bit there. I want to understand your upbringing. Tell me about your mom. Tell me about Eldoret at that time, even before school. Your earliest memories at that time.
Okay, one of the things I'm very blessed with is family, and I don't remember any season of my life I ever struggled with feelings of insecurity or feeling. There was just so much love coming from home. Even though in those days our folks never said, I love you. Me, I just knew I'm loved. I knew I belong. So I was born in Eldoret, and the neat thing about it is my grandmother lived very close to us. We were born in the town and my grandparents were there. So if mom was not around, we just land at grandma and grandpa's place. And according to my parents, my grandparents were very, very, were serious disciplinarians. But to us, I mean, I could not see that. You know, I learned how to make somebody's hair, braid hair lines, cornrows, on my grandfather's head.
Wow.
So I tell him, come, sit down. So my uncles, my mom would look and like, is this the same guy who used to really work on them? So I really grew up loved.
Yes.
And I was not even a Christian, I was not saved. But my grandparents were. And even before I came to give my life to Christ, the thought of disappointing my grandparents was a huge issue. Somehow it was not my parents, but I guess the love my grandparents gave us, the commitment, and they talked to us a lot. And that's one thing I think we've lost nowadays, because we don't have those layers of community around us. But I remember I was dropping in grades. I think I was in class 3. And I was really dropping. I don't remember why. And my grandfather called me and said, tell me one thing, that if you push yourself up to top 10, I will give it to you. You know, like even up to half of my kingdom. But in those days, soda, you know, a bottle of soda is not what it is now. We used to have soda for Christmas, maybe a kasherehe there, just a celebration. It wasn't a normal thing. I thought a crate of soda. I told my grandfather, me want a great crate of soda. He said, done. So you study. If you get I worked hard. I think I got to number 7. I remember my grandfather holding my hand. We went to a wholesale shop. He gave me an empty crate, told me, mix anything you want.
Yeah.
And then he carried the crate for me. I put that crate under my bed. That time I was popular. So everybody would come, take one bottle, I have kasip. But my grandparents used to honor commitments. We didn't have, of course, mobile phones then. So you had to get a watch. So when I finished my primary school, my granddad told me, if you do well, we'll go to town, to the watch shop, pick anything. And those things I would have in my head, motivation. And they were very present. They would talk to us. And even when I came to the uni, the thought of failing my grandparents. I always tell people, I feared my grandparents more before I feared Jesus. Even before I was a Christian, I just wanted to honor them. I just wanted to make them proud. And part of it is what they poured into my life. So my memories in Eldoret is really my grandparents. And
tell me a little bit about your mom. I've not heard you mention your mom yet.
That one, she's coming.
Oh, she's coming.
My mom is the chair lady of the Global Sanguine Club. If you meet her, you think you've known each other.
Okay.
Yes.
The stories on its way. So in Eldoret, do you start school when you're in Eldoret?
Yes.
Okay.
So I didn't go to a nursery school. Now people go to nursery schools. My mom had some Goan friends. And so we were like homeschooled. Just me and my brother.
Back then?
Yes. So my mom would drop us at this lady's place.
Whoa.
And would do more than just ABCD. She taught us how to make homemade sausages. It was so practical. I don't know how my parents thought about it then. And we were not well off.
Yeah.
But it was just a very special arrangement that we had. So by the time we got to class 1, we were so ahead because we had the focus of one teacher, the two of us.
Yeah.
And it was more practical than just rote knowledge. So that was an amazing space for us. Then we come now to class 1 to 3.
And what school do you go to at this time?
I went to Wasingishu Primary School in Eldoret. Then we had a lot of, it was mixed. You had Caucasians, you had a lot of Indians. So I don't know why, but whenever we had choirs or folk things, I was always with the Indians. Because maybe I didn't have the African rhythm. I tell people I dance so well seated. As guys are those guys who I have the move when I'm sitting, but when I stand, the legs don't move. So the windy dances at least didn't have. It was mostly upper body.
Yes.
So I just have good memories. Growing up.
Eldoret sounds very cosmopolitan.
Yeah.
Like, tell me about the community beyond just, the school I've gotten an understanding, but break me down about the community, and also what are your parents doing? What work are they doing?
Yes. So my dad was a career banker for many, many years until he retired.
Wow.
And of course, these are those days when parents held one job. I think my dad in his life before he retired only had 2 jobs. And mostly with the now ABSA Bank, then was Barclays Bank. And my dad is an amazing man. If there's anybody who's taught us discipline and order, it's my dad. My dad never, ever caned us. At your spanking, never. But my dad would give you a lecture. It would start before news. I have told you, sit down. I told you. He goes on and on. Then he pauses, goes watches news, calls you back. We continue. You're like, if it was a spanking, this thing would have ended a long time ago. But my mom made up for it. But my mom was, she was a general, yes. The other day, and we were very good friends. So the other day I was asking my mom, why did you used to spank us like that? And you think you'd have been a pastor if I had not made sure you came out straight and in order. So my parents were not believers, but were very present. Actually, all my life, I don't know this thing of your dad not being home. And my parents are very good friends, even now. Of course, they have their issues, but they're very good friends. So my early memories of home, I used to think, even if life goes bad at school, 4:30 is coming, I'm going home. And for us, breakfast, lunch, of course, was not a family thing because everybody was working, doing things. But evening tea was the highlight meal in our family.
Whoa. So
we'd come home, so by 4:30, by 5, everybody's sitting for a cup of tea. That's when we'd have, if there was eggs, bread. So by the time you're eating, it's 9 o'clock, my mom says, what do you guys think you'll eat for dinner? So we grew up, even till today, my mom, they eat very late, which I don't like. But that was the time now would come home and stories, would always, somehow our home had a lot of stories. We were not, I didn't know we were poor until I was in high school. Yes, I'll tell you that story. So we'd come home, we'd have tea, and there was always and we didn't have a lot of homework those days. Like now I see my kids with so much homework. And after tea, when mom is cooking, my mom loves to sing. So and she has a deep voice, so my mom would sing bass. And then as guys, me, I'd be soprano, so we'd always be singing. There was nothing major, but we'd always be singing. And my brother and my mom are very, very close. So if my brother saw a girl, he'd come. I'm like, why are you telling all your things? But that's been home even till today.
Wow.
Very
You're a
tight-knit
family.
Yes, we are. My dad is very quiet. And then for me growing up, I was actually an introverted person. So I'd sit with my dad in the room. Him is reading his magazine, and we're together. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, my mom and brother wrestling, what? No, I used to find them noisy. And I remember even now, when I'm really tired, I power up in solitude. That's a very interesting thing. So I can stay home on my day off, make sure everybody is fine, then I'll go upstairs, I'll read a book, just some downtime powers me up. My mom would find that very odd. So she'd come from work. Where is Janet? In her room. Doing what? So she'd come in. So I used to collect stamps, those days, to hobbies. I used to have pen pals. And imagine those days, they were from magazines in Sweden.
Pen pal, you had a pen pal?
Pen pals, yeah. And mine was from Sweden and I think Switzerland. And it was snail mail.
Yes.
And somehow you'd write. So I was always busy. I'd never be out, even till today. If you go to Nakuru or where we grew up, many people don't know me by name. They know me as Banda. My brother is Banda sister. So I grew up, until I became a pastor, really, I was not a
forward-facing person.
Never. Even my mom is in awe that I can stand in front of people and speak.
And deliver.
I imagine. But so just simple little things, of course, there were struggles. It wasn't all rosy. My mom was an accountant in a flour mill place. So now this is when we moved to Nakuru.
Okay, before Nakuru, in Eldoret, what's the town like? What's the environment outside home like?
Then or now?
Then at that time.
Okay, yes. Then at that time, it was safe. Because even going to school, at our class 2, 3, would walk to school. And it wasn't near. And we'd have to cross the Nairobi-Uganda road. But adults were always safe. So as you're crossing, it was like a known thing. Children are coming, so somebody would grab your hand, even if they don't know you, help you cross the road, you'd go to school.
Wow.
So it was a safe environment. It's not like today when you're very cautious. You tell children about strangers. The other thing is anybody could discipline you, as you're misbehaving on the road.
Yeah.
It was community. It was the real how a child is brought up by the whole village.
Ubuntu, yes. One for all and all for one.
Yes, and then if you're very naughty, they discipline you and then now tell you, take me home. Now you're brought to the general at home. This is what your child was doing. So there was a community accountability and mutual respect. I remember you had to greet adults, anybody. If you meet somebody, you have to look up. If guests came to the house, you were all called, you have to greet people. Of course, if the pastor came, we had a song. I hated those things.
So are you going to church? Oh, so your parents are not
So at that time, my parents are not born again, but my grandparents are. Oh. So my grandparents would insist we go to Sunday school. And I don't know why those days Sunday school was at 8 a.m. So we'd go to church and then I'd leave. My mom would make sure we wake up and then I should go back to sleep. And then we go, and by 8 o'clock, she's not done breakfast. Yep. But we'd come back and I remember a highlight of just coming home and there would be breakfast. And then there are those days when things were good. My mom would make sure Saturday she has made a whole kisufuri of mandazi.
Spread.
Mandazi.
Yeah, mandazi.
But you are binging the whole Sunday. So that was quite a highlight. So I would go to church. My grandparents made sure we went to church. And we went to Salvation Army. Now, if you know Salvation Army, I don't know if they do it nowadays. Kids would come Sunday school. Then the adults would go for an outdoor crusade thing in a band. And then when they'd come back, they'd now move into church as kids would go home.
Wow.
And so when I grew up a bit more, my grandparents insisted we had to do the whole Salvation Army thing. So you go through some classes, you are called a junior soldier. Then you go through some other classes, now you be...
What exactly is Salvation Army?
It's a church.
It's a form of... It's like, it's a church on its own.
Yes, Salvation Army is a church that wears white. You've seen them in town.
Oh, I have.
Yes, and they have, it's like an army.
Yes.
And they have hats, and they have a band, very smart. And so that's where my grandparents went to church. Oh, okay. And my granddad was the treasurer. My grandmother was the leader of the women's groups. So for us, church was just all through,
Okay.
And then all holidays would go mostly to my grandparents in Eldoret. So,
were your grandparents always from Eldoret?
Yes. No. Of course, they grew up. They were born in Shags, Ukambani area.
Yes.
I don't know. My grandfather moved to Eldoret for business. So, and then he stayed there. But somehow the Kawa accent never left him.
So Eldoret had a cosmopolitan.
Yes.
At that time.
Yes.
Okay. Because it's 60s now into 70s.
No. This is now 70s.
Yeah, this is 70s.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the beautiful thing again about life in those days, it was actually there was a sense of pride to know other languages. So I grew up knowing Luo. We had Luo friends who would just speak Luo, Kikuyu. In fact, I didn't know Kamba for a long time until I got married to my husband, and now some of his people talk Kamba.
So at home, what would you speak?
Mostly Swahili and English.
Okay.
Yeah. My parents, my mom is Kamba, my dad is Kisi, but somehow we were not brought up. In those days, there was also an issue. We were brought up more with my because maybe they were closer with where we lived, so we knew more of Kikamba.
Okay.
But it was an interesting thing. It was not how an ethnic language now. Sometimes people will raise eyebrows.
Yes.
We were always learning something. So even now, once in a while, there's a part in my brain that unlocks. Yeah. I don't know why whenever you used to learn a new language, they first tell you all the bad things first. So when they tell you to say it, people are like, what did you just say? Yeah, but so we and played a lot.
Important to note, because in fact when you talk about the cosmopolitanness of even the lack of tribalism, it's showing me, what very important to note is Jomo Kenyatta is in power at this time.
Yes.
At this early 70s. Yeah, because I do know the coup had something to do now with the division of tribes. And anyway, so what about now the other people living in your house? So your house is, the way you're talking, it sounds like there's only 4 people.
No.
But at this Eldoret time, it sounds like there's your brother, your dad.
No, in Eldoret time, we were just 4.
Oh, you're just 4?
But when we moved to Nakuru, that's where now my 3 uncles and auntie moved to stay with us.
Okay, let's move. Let's transition then to Nakuru. What makes you move to Nakuru?
My dad's job. So my dad was transferred from then Barclays Eldoret to Nakuru.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's that like for you?
That was a huge change.
How old are you at this time? Class 4?
Maybe 10, 11. So there was a huge shift. Because now in Eldoret, we had come from this Apsi school. Then we came to Nakuru in the middle of the year, and we couldn't get into like schools. So after a while, my mom is like, even as we went to regular public schools, that was a big culture shock for us. In the school we had been in before, there was no spanking. The teacher couldn't yell at you. Now you come to this place and it's just like, it was just, that was, I didn't enjoy my class, especially 5 to 7. It was like military.
Okay.
Would have to go to school very early in the morning. We had, God bless his heart. I don't know if he's still alive, but our head teacher was called Master Ben. Would walk to school.
Master Ben, was he an African?
Yeah.
Okay.
Would walk to school. Then if you turn and you see him behind you, you better run. Because if he gets to school before you,
you're in trouble.
Punishment.
You're in trouble.
I didn't like it. So I began to chew my nails, and I think that's the anxiety for me, because you never knew how the day would pan out. By the time we got to class 7, school was just a nightmare for me. I'd wake up every morning. I don't know why. That time it was only KBC. I don't know why KBC used to play the song of Amkeni Kumekucha. And then there was another one of something about ukisoma utapata kazi nzuri.
Yes, so many vijana.
Yes, don't play them. I just have a good nightmares think about that. So every Monday morning, I would complain of an ailment by standard 7. I have a headache. So one time my dad is like, how come you only get sick on Monday mornings? I just didn't like that school. So we'd do exams every day.
Every day?
Not even once. Sometimes in standard 7, because me, I went through the 7,
yes,
7,
not
6.
Class 8.
Yes, there was no class 8 then. Eh?
It's back like that now again with CBC, if I'm not wrong.
I guess, yeah. So they were preparing us for the CPE exams. So we'd have a lot of exams, sometimes even 4 times in a day. And then what they would do, so if assume the front of the class, so one row, if you got 100, you change positions. So you sat there all the way till the guy who got last, at the end.
Per exam?
I'm telling you. And if you shift from there, he finds you shifted and you're here. If everybody who didn't get it, you'd get 2K instead of like, ta, ta, ta. So after a while, I realized there's like a group of guys here in the middle who are always safe.
No.
Because you see, if you move, if you excel, then you're caught in the middle. He'll wonder, why did you? And then those guys, the last row was always in trouble.
Yes.
This other first row, you better not move too far. But there was like a safe carrying here. And nobody told me. I just realized there's something here. So intentionally.
No way.
We'll do exams. Even if I know answers, I make sure I'm around 70. I even do some things wrong, so that I remain here.
No way.
And sure enough, I survived very well. But I didn't know that mentality or psyche was so ingrained in me. So when I went to high school, I didn't exert myself. I just played safe, average. So even when I got at Division 1, but not very strong, I was shocked. I was expecting to be in Division 2. Because that time we used to have Division 1, Division 2, and 3.
Yeah.
So I didn't get a strong one, but I was like, how is it possible? So that thing really affected me without knowing it.
Mm.
And it was always just the feeling of anxiety.
Mm.
And I started chewing my nails. And of course, those days people didn't understand. When you chew your nails, it could be a whole anxiety thing.
Yep.
So when I left that school, actually, I've never gone back.
Even
when I go to Nakuru, I never even wanted to go back.
You've not even mentioned it.
No.
Even now, as if you see
But there were some good teachers. There were some good teachers. That's the first time I really got into. We had a CRE teacher. She was called Mrs. Maheni. She was an amazing woman, very solid. She would make us memorize scripture every morning in the parade. Mm. And so we're building up. So we'd find you've memorized a whole chapter. So there were good spaces. The one good thing about those days would play.
I've not heard you talk about friends yet.
Oh, okay.
In all this time.
Yes.
So at this time, are you making friends?
I don't remember my friends in class 1 to 3.
Yes.
I just know I had many Indian friends.
Mm. This school is now not cosmopolitan at all?
No, it is.
The one in Nakuru?
Yes, but it's not a private school.
I get it. It's a
this
public
is now
school.
A public school, and a public school that had just a lot of, I'll call it corporal punishment.
Yes.
So it was nothing I knew from home. Mm. It was nothing I'd gone through in class 1 and 3, but now I'm stuck. Mm. My brother's school was not really like that. But this school used to do very well. It was an all-girls school. We do very well, but with a lot of that. So I think I was not made for such combativeness in my life. So when I left, I left. Then I went.
Your friends at that time. Do you have friends at that time who you'd spend time with? Who you feel like you connected with?
That's a strange thing. Maybe I shut down a lot of that. So I remember a few friends, but then again, life took us different directions.
I get it.
And then, of course, later we moved from that area. So I never really kept those friends.
I get it.
But now when I went to high school, that's where I have, even some of those high school friends are my friends to date.
Okay.
But not the ones in primary.
So in primary, you do average. So by the CPE?
I just decided here. So I did well, and I think I could have aced the exam to 36. I got 31.
And this out of 40?
No, 36 was
the top.
Yes.
And
so
you
I got 31.
That's good.
It was good, but I could have done, I think, much better. So anyway, I was happy. I wanted to be. In fact, I was aiming for 30.
Yeah. And what year did you finish?
I can't remember years.
Is our first president still in power?
No. Kenyatta died. Moi was in power by then.
Okay. I just want to hear it from your perspective. Every time I have a conversation with somebody who's, you've witnessed all our presidents in Kenya.
Yeah, when did Kenyatta die?
So is this 78? Yeah, 78.
Yeah.
Can you remember it? Can you remember that time? Can you remember the transition into Moi coming into power? Especially you, because you're near that Eldoret side, you're near that Nakuru side. Yeah,
but you see, by that time I think we'd moved to Nakuru, and Moi loved Nakuru a lot.
Yep, that's what I said.
As a primary school, that's another thing. I remember when we went primary, he'd come to Nakuru a lot. So schools, even the whole school would line up on the highway. Would all march and walk to the highway and wait for hours with little flags. Then when he passes, take 2 seconds.
Imagine.
Then everybody has to go to class. Like, what is this? But we enjoyed it because it was always a day out. You're meeting friends. You're from different schools. And it was standard in Nakuru.
Wow.
And
so this is not something you did once?
No. It was a thing. You know how nowadays when the president comes, the police are on the roads stopping. That was always a thing. All schools, and especially schools around that area, would have to come and meet the president. I don't know why, but sometimes it would be almost a whole day affair. Because you'd come out in the morning and the guy is coming through maybe at 12. I don't know why they did that. But it was fun. You are just playing through the day. Yeah. So once we were done with the class 7, I went to Menengai High School. Okay, and where is that? In Nakuru, right in town. Day school or boarding? Day school.